Then I think I should share my slides. Okay, so before I begin, I would like to know if my voice is coming through loudly and clearly.
When I
Hello. Okay, so I'm hoping that you guys can hear me clearly.
Yes,
yeah,
please.
yes, please.
Have to begin. Today we are looking at types of discourses. Types of discourses. So I presume that in our last class we ended with problems with definitions. So if that is the case, today we are beginning with types of discourses. What is a discourse? Sometimes when we write, we put individual sentences together for different purposes. Now, a collection of sentences is called a passage or discourse. So, a discourse is also called a passage. And we shall distinguish passages that are arguments and those that are not. So, the basic thing is just which are the argumentative ones and then which are the non-argumentative passages. So, which passages are arguments and which passages are not. So, that's the bottom line. Argument. A discourse is called an argument if it contains a claim or conclusion that is supported with reasons or information. If it contains a claim or conclusion that is supported with reasons or information. So that's basically an argument. An argument contains at least two items. One, you have a conclusion, which could also be a claim or decision. So technically, a conclusion is the same as a claim and even a decision. All of them require just the same processes to arrive at. Then, apart from that, we have expressions aimed at providing support or proof for the conclusion, claim, or decision. So these are the two items or components of an argument. First, you have a claim or conclusion or decision. Second, you have expressions aimed at supporting the conclusion or claim or decision. So these are the two components of an argument. Example of argument. So you have three sentences here. Two of them are providing support for the third one, and then the third one is a conclusion. So let's look at the three. One, Ghanaian men think women don't deserve to occupy higher positions. That's statement one. Two, they question the competence and qualification of women who are sent to high office, but refrain from doing so to even incompetent men. So that's two. Three, therefore, Ghanaian men do not respect women. Notice that the above passage has three statements. Statements 1 and 2 are serving as information, evidence, or reasons to support statement 3. For attempting to support statement 3, these statements are called premises. Statement 3, which is being supported, is called conclusion. So basically, if you look at the three statements, you see that one of them, the last one, is a conclusion, and the other two are expressions that are aimed to provide support in the form of reasons, evidence, or information for the conclusion. Now, the first thing is to learn to identify arguments. When you're looking at a passage, how do you identify? When you're looking at an argument, how do you, or when you're looking at a passage, how do you determine that there is an argument? How do you find arguments? The first thing with finding arguments is that there are certain words or phrases that immediately tell you are looking at an argument. And then dividing them into two categories. First of all, there are certain words or phrases that immediately tell you are looking at a premise. And there are also certain words or phrases that immediately tell you are looking at a conclusion. The ones that tell you are looking at a premise is called a premise indicator. It is indicating a premise. Then you have the conclusion indicators. First, with the premise indicators. So when you see certain words in a sentence, you know you are just looking at a premise. For instance, if a premise begins with the word for, or granted but, or in the view of the fact that, or inasmuch as, or if it begins with since, or it is a fact that, or one cannot doubt that, or the sentence begins with the word because, or it begins with the phrase, the reason is that, or with the phrase, as shown by the fact that, or maybe it continues from another sentence, and then it continues with, as shown by the fact that. So these phrases or words tell you that you are looking at a premise, because they tell you are looking at an expression that is supporting a conclusion. Then you have the conclusion indicators. These words or phrases tell you are looking at a conclusion. When you see therefore, consequently, hence, asserting that, for this reason, or a sentence begins with accordingly, or consequently, or this being so, those are conclusion indicators. But you must not always find conclusion indicators. In fact, you would hardly find indicators in your exams, because no examiner is going to put an indicator for you. So you have to learn to identify arguments without indicators, without premise and conclusion indicators. Then we have the non-arguments. Not every passage or cluster of propositions is an argument. Some passages are non-arguments. These include narratives, instructional passages, rhetorical polemic, or opinion. So these are three types of non-argumentative passages or discourses. First, you have the narrative. The narrative is a passage that reports a sequence of events according to the order the events occurred. So a narrative is basically a collection of factual statements or factual statements. Example, over the course of 2 weeks, some police officers have been observed stopping and checking cars in the area between Nsawam and Anyinam on the Accra-Kumasi road. They extort money and abuse motorists who question their authority. Brandishing AK-47 rifles and dressed in heavy police gear, these officers do not just check cars, they also assault some motorists and passengers. So this is a narrative. It's just a collection of factual statements. So a narrative is also technically a story. So a story is a narrative. Instructional passage. This is a passage that describes a process or sequence of things to do in a specific order. So a passage that describes a process or sequence of things to do in a specific order. It offers a list of directives to follow to accomplish some desired effects. So the example below offers a list of directives on how to use a fire extinguisher. Also, a passage, an instructional passage, is simply put a collection of imperatives. So imperatives assembled to present, a directive, a guide to some action. So example, pull the pin, aim the nozzle at the base of the fire. Aiming at the top of the flame with a extinguisher wouldn't be effective. In a controlled manner, squeeze the trigger to release the agent. Sweep the nozzle from side to side until the fire is put out. So this is an instructional passage on how to put out, how to put out fire, or how to extinguish flames. So instructional passage is basically a collection of imperatives arranged in a certain order to offer guidance on certain detailed actions. Then a rhetorical polemic is a passage communicating a usually strong feeling and persuasively vents an opinion. So when you are communicating strong feeling or persuasively venting an opinion, then that's a rhetorical polemic. Now, the difference between a rhetorical polemic and an argument is that an argument is a conclusion supported with reasons, but a rhetorical polemic is a collection of emotive expressions, and sometimes it may include a claim. Sometimes it may include a claim or conclusion, but it wouldn't be supported by reasons. It would just be accompanied by emotive expressions. Now let's look at it. So just remember, arguments, conclusions supported with reasons, and then rhetorical polemic is, emotive expressions that sometimes include a claim, an unsupported claim. Okay, example, I hate these lab tests. That's an emotive expression. Every time I'm exposed to the disease plants, I fall ill. So that's a claim. I'm sure they hate me or they are punishing me or something. That's an emotive expression. It's disgusting how I get sick so often. That's an emotive expression. So you have about 4 emotive expressions, which include a claim. So that's the difference between rhetorical polemic and argument. A little exercise. Name 4 types of discourses studied in this chapter. So anyone who can quickly give us the 4 types of discourses. 4 types of discourses. So without wasting time, you have what? You have argument, narrative, instructional passage, and rhetorical polemic. What is an argument? An argument is a passage containing a claim or conclusion supported by reasons, evidence, or information. List the components of an argument. So you have conclusion or claim or decision, and then you have what? Reasons, evidence, or information supporting it. Distinguish between argument and rhetorical polemic. So we have said that argument is what? Conclusion supported with reasons, or conclusion or claim supported with reasons. Rhetorical polemic, you can have a claim and then it is surrounded, or accompanied by emotive expressions. Okay. Now let's look at something else. Now we are done with the types of discourses or passages. Let us look at a little introductory topic to logic or critical thinking. Now, logic, when we talk about logic or critical thinking, sometimes, most of the time, what comes to our mind is what? Disagreements. And at least most of us value studying logic or critical thinking so that they will be able to navigate disagreements in a better way. Now, so disagreements is a principal part of logic or critical thinking. But before you begin to study disagreements, you need to know the types. So we have two basic categories of disagreements. We have the verbal disagreements and the substantive disagreements. The verbal disagreements are not regarded as they are not even regarded as disagreements. It is only the substantive disagreements that are regarded as disagreements. Now, verbal disagreements or verbal dispute is a disagreement about the meaning of a word or words. Disagreement about the meaning of a word or words. Now, it is presumed that everyone should understand the meaning of a word or words. So if there's a disagreement about meaning, then logicians will say that they should sort out the meaning first before they can come into argument. So, get your meanings right, and then you can come in for a debate. So that's why verbal disagreements are not regarded as real disagreements. Example, that man is a Fanti. No, he's an Akan. So when someone says that man is a Fanti and someone else says no, he's not a Fanti, he's an Akan, then it means that the second person doesn't understand that a Fanti is an Akan. So what needs to be done is that he should be educated, he should be corrected that a Fanti is an Akan. Once that has been done, then the disagreement disappears and there's no disagreement anymore. So that's why it is regarded that verbal disagreements are not real disagreements. All you need to do is to clarify the meaning of something, and then the disagreement, evaporates. Okay, so let's look at real disagreement. Now, the real disagreement is a disagreement about facts or values. Disagreements about facts or values are the substantive or real disagreements. Now, example of disagreement about facts. Accra is the capital of Ghana. No, Kumasi is the capital of Ghana. So this wouldn't be a disagreement here because we all know the capital. But it could be a disagreement among two people in China or Russia or even the US. Then example 2, Accra should be the capital of Ghana. No, Accra should not be the capital of Ghana. So that's a disagreement about values. Someone thinks that Accra should not be the capital. Someone else thinks it should be the capital. So we have, a conflict of values or preferences. A conflict of values or preferences. Okay, so these are the substantive disagreements. You resolve the factual disagreements by verifying the facts. So you simply verify the capital of Ghana, and that disagreement will be resolved. You resolve the second one, by trying to find out the values that are at conflict. What values are Mr. A holding? Which ones are Mr. B holding? And why are those two values coming into conflict? So disagreement over values is more difficult to resolve because it requires more homework. A little exercise. Determine whether the following disagreement is verbal or real. Sandra says, that man is quite old. He died at 50. And then Comfort says, you call that old? He died young. That man is quite old. He died at 50. You call that old? He died young. Is this disagreement verbal or is it real?
It's real.
It's real.
So why do you think it's real?
Well, it's claiming a fact.
So it's verbal.
Verbal. Okay, why do you think it's verbal?
Verbal.
So because you said earlier, you said with a verbal, you try to find out the values of person A and then person B. So with Sandra, she's saying the man is quite old. He died at 50. But Comfort is saying you call that old. He died young because maybe for Comfort, she has seen people die at 70. Let's say 70. So dying at 50, she sees that as he dying young.
Okay, so Comfort thinks that 50 is a young age.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I'm coming. Okay, so the conflict is about whether 50 is young or old. Okay, if that is the case, then it means that the conflict is about the meaning of old. At what age do you say someone is old? You know, so if Sandra believes that 50 is that old is 50 and Comfort says old is more than 50, then it means that the word old is in conflict. But I don't think they are disputing about whether he died at 50. Otherwise, that would have been a factual dispute. Okay, and I don't also think that the issue of whether old is 50 or 70 is a dispute between different values. No, it's actually a dispute about the meaning of the word old. What does old mean? You know. So I think you can say that it is a verbal dispute. So you need to be careful when you see a question. You first of all ask yourself, is it a factual disagreement? Is it a disagreement about fact? Is it a disagreement about, is it a conflict between different preferences? Remember that values are preferences. So is it a conflict between different values or preferences? Or is it a conflict about what something means or entails? What something means or entails. Okay, so those are the things you need to do before you can answer such questions. And I bet you when you do them, you are most likely to get the answer correct. Okay, so at this point, we are going to take questions from anyone who has a question to ask. So that after that, we will upload the lecture for anyone who didn't attend to watch. So we'll upload it to your Sakai resources folder. And then we can also get it down to your WhatsApp platform. So any questions before we end the class? So the topic was very short and straightforward, very simple. I don't really expect there to be confusion. I only expect questions in some other subsequent topics. So without wasting further time, we're going to end the class, and I hope you enjoy your weekend without wasting too much of your time. And I'm going to upload the video in a few minutes. I think my internet is strong. I've not yet uploaded the last one, so I'm going to upload the two of them if the internet is. Yes, you wanted to ask a question?
The types of discourse, please give it to me again.
Types of discourse. That's too so simple. Why are you confused? Did you come late?
Yes, please. I came late.
Oh, then you missed a lot of things, and the only way you can recover the class is to watch the video. The types of discourses are arguments, narrative, instructional passage, and rhetorical polemic. Okay. So if that is the last question, then we're going to call it a day. So continue to read your textbooks and do your exercises. And I think you have assignments to do. If you've not gotten it, then you should be getting it today or tomorrow. So I wish you good luck, and we'll meet next week on Thursday, 1:30 p.m. Okay, so
Thank you, sir.
I'm going to
All
stop
right.
the.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. We are really
Thank
grateful.
you, sir.
We are really
Thank you,
grateful.
sir.
Thank you.